Welcome to GuideMia channel. In this training session, we're going to show you a relatively complex case for stage planning. Here is a case that we are going to extract 4 teeth and then to align the jaws. So let's take a look at how we are going to do this. Initially, the treatment plan has been done like this. You see a table that's called movement planning table. What we're going to do is now, first we reset the movement. We start from the beginning. We don't plan any orders yet. So we define pre-angulation for the posterior teeth. Because the liberties are extracted, we want to rotate the teeth by 8 degrees at beginning. So after the alignment, they will be corrected. That's called pre-angulation. So after we do the pre-angulation of the 6 posterior teeth, we see they have been planned steps and keys and different stages. We set a couple of keyframes for the posterior teeth, and then we tell the system we want to do the rotation first for all those teeth. Now we go to look at anterior teeth. We use drag and drop to set the starting point of those 4 anterior teeth. You can do multiple selection, drag and drop. Now, whenever we double click on the cell, we show where the teeth are. What we are going to do is now we are going to tell the system for all those 4 teeth, 6 teeth, we do rotation first. And we check the alignments for each of the steps. So whenever need, we can use the Add button to define a keyframe. And then we can align the anterior teeth according to this keyframe. Now you can see at this step 18, all the anterior teeth are aligned. Then we go ahead to step 30, and then we see there are gaps between the teeth. So at a certain point, we decide, like here in step 26, we define a keyframe for this tooth number 8 or 11. Then we align all the other teeth according to this keyframe. Now you see they are in an aligned position. The way we are doing this keyframe alignment is that during the entire movement, we don't have large gaps between the anterior teeth. They remain in a good alignment and in a good shape, aesthetic shape. Now we also use drag and drop to create some static steps. So those teeth are not moving during those steps. So we set another keyframe. We do another alignment of the keyframes. So this way, we ensure a multiple checkpoint. It's like checkpoints, and those checkpoints, those front teeth are aligned properly, or are in a relatively good positions with each other. Now we adjust the posterior teeth so that they can have different movement orders of their pre-angulation. This way we don't move all the teeth together, and we don't cause any step collisions between the teeth. What you notice here is when we are drag and drop, it's a very conceptual approach. we don't have to worry about how accurate those alignments are and whether they are going to have collisions or gaps at this step. It's a very conceptual approach. We give roughly orders and alignment. The system will take care of the refinement part later. So you can see we can drag and drop multiple lines. So those teeth will start moving after the anterior teeth are almost in place. Now we do a simulation. You see the rotation first and translation, and in different stage of the movements are like anterior teeth are aligned. Also, you can see here how the posterior teeth are rotating and going back to the original angulation. Now we work on the lower jaw. We select 6 posterior teeth, and we want to do expansion first for those teeth. So the expansion will be done first, and we create multiple keyframes for those teeth. Basically, that means those red cells, the expansion has been done. We are double clicking those points to check where the alignment looks like. And those steps we find roughly uh, at step 8, we want to do angulation, pre-angulation of those teeth. So we do expansion first, we do pre-angulation, and the step movements after pre-angulation could be too big, but we decided to do a rotation first. In this case, we use that rotation first button. Then we work on the anterior teeth by drag and dropping the cells. We do rotation first again. Then we define a keyframe for one of the teeth. So basically, we want to align the other teeth against this tooth at this step. So that's called a keyframe alignment. So we do keyframe alignment at step 16. Then a few steps later, in step 23, we define another keyframe and we align the keyframes again. So this way, step 16 and 23 serving will be serving like a checkpoint. So at those steps, the teeth, anterior teeth are roughly aligned. Then we further doing drag and drop for the posterior teeth. So again, we don't have to move too many teeth altogether. So we want to create some different orders. This typically is called like a V shape or M shape of the movement orders, depending on are you doing a distalization or you're actually um, moving forward the posterior teeth. This button is to adjust the movement. You notice for those steps, we're having higher movement amount bigger than 200 microns. So we can adjust the steps or insert steps so that each of them will be in the given range of 0.25 millimeters actually. Now we are running the simulation. We can see anterior first, molar expansion first, anterior movements next, and then molar movements. And for each of them, you will see rotation first, translation first, that kind of movement orders. So when we are doing the simulation, we further check the distance visually. So make sure the starting point of each of the teeth are not quite uh, different from what we expect. So we keep using the drag and drop to set a starting point to create gaps or static steps between the movements. So we run the simulation, we look at the models from different orientation. Now this is the key point here. We use this automatic staging button, which is working now, to make sure for each of the staging, each of the steps, there's no collisions between the teeth. And we're going to adjust the tooth movements for each of the steps so that across the entire jaw, there are going to be no collisions. That's why we said earlier in stage planning, we do a conceptual planning without worrying about the actual movement amount. And this is where we fix those amounts. So after this is done, you will see we make some adjustment to the movement amount and to the keyframes. If necessary, we could be adding steps for. To summarize the staging functions we demonstrated in this video, we use the reset movement button to reset all the movements so that all the teeth start from the beginning. Then we use drag and drop to make different orders to adjust the number of movement steps. And then we use pre-angulation button in this stage planning dialog to do pre-angulation of posterior teeth. And we use those buttons to do movement orders like rotation first, translation first, expansion first, etc. And we use add steps, remove steps, and most importantly, we set keyframes for the anterior teeth, and we do keyframe alignment so that we create multiple checkpoints for anterior teeth during the tooth movement course. At those checkpoints, all the anterior teeth are in a good alignment. Now we do a final inspection of the movements.